All right. I'm going to continue this weather theme because I'm going to talk about cloud. What I want to do today is address, it's called Competing with the Future with Cloud, and it's based on some information that we'll be publishing later this week. I've been in IT for 30 years, and there's always been this sort of chase with keeping up with technology from a IT perspective. We see it in the headlines today, how difficult it is and how complex systems are getting. And now we're only getting more and more technologies confronting IT decision makers, and how are they going to cope with the ever-expanding role of the digital world with their IT systems. So IBM figured the best way to get a pulse on this is to ask people. So we conducted a study. The study will be published, I think, on Thursday or Friday. So I thought I'd spend my 15 minutes giving you some advanced insights as to what we've learned and how it could potentially help you in competing for the future with cloud. Now, we did this study worldwide. It was a split between, we focused on 800 people who are classified as cloud decision makers. And if you see from the slide, cloud decision makers today are both within the IT organization of an enterprise, and they are also line of business executives, making decisions, generally SaaS in nature, around cloud purchases. We did it across the world in emerging geographies as well as major markets, and we did it across different sizes of organizations, 13 countries and 24 industries. To get a handle on how are people adopting cloud and how is it making a difference in their business, not just in their IT, but in the company that they run and work in. One insight jumped out right away was you read about and you hear about how cloud is sort of disrupting the relationship between line of business executives and IT. From an IBM perspective, we see that as an opportunity for the IT organization, the CIO, to really reinvent themselves. And that's another whole interesting topic. But the evidence is pretty clear that that the world is changing because of the fact that the line of business cloud decision makers very much are embracing cloud-delivered solutions. And this study focused on cloud delivered as infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, quicker than their IT counterparts. As a matter of fact, as you looked at this study, 3 years from now, 72% of the people we surveyed in the line of business believe it's going to be a very important part of transforming their company. As opposed to those in IT who the majority still believe the same, but not to the rate of growth. So the survey revealed 3 groupings of cloud decision makers, and they sort of logically fell into these 3 buckets. Number 1 are the pace setters, and that's really where I'm going to spend my time today. Pace setters are the people that have already realized that cloud's not just for making IT more efficient, but that they can start to leverage it to change the way they run their business. So they've really embraced cloud computing, and they're now in the process of sort of setting the pace of how they can attack this growing set of requirements and digitization of their enterprise by leveraging a cloud infrastructure. The challengers are about, have done the same in terms of efficiency of their IT infrastructure, but they have not quite caught on as quickly to start leveraging it for the benefit of their company. And then the chasers are a group that appear to be, understand cloud, embracing it now, leveraging it in their IT and their data centers, but have fallen a little bit behind. So we looked at these in those 3. We looked at the data in those 3 buckets. And through that lens, we're able to get some interesting insights. First of all, the pace setters are using cloud computing to differentiate their business. And roughly fell into three big areas when we probed more. And by the way, I say we probed. This was a double-blind study, so we don't even know who the 800 companies were, and they don't know that IBM was asking the question. So the results weren't tainted by the fact of people saying what you think, knowing, and IBM doesn't even know who the companies are. We had an intermediary conduct the survey for us. And then they did some follow-on questions and found things like the following. Strategic reinvention. Leveraging cloud not just to make the IT more efficient, but then rethinking the way that they do their systems. Whether it's supply chain, up and down their supply chain, whether it's the relationship they have with their end customers, looking at ways that they believe they can use cloud to reinvent their company. Making better decisions. This combination of analytics and cloud is a very powerful one. You can get access to all this data, you store all this data in the cloud, and then you can start making decisions about it. Several years ago, I started working with the team in IBM who's responsible for analytics, and they didn't quite, see, how important it could be to leverage the combination of cloud and analytics. Now very much, especially in the area of marketing analytics and a lot of the acquisitions IBM has made, we realize how grabbing social information, grabbing customer behavior information can help really give you a lens into, making better decisions about where to invest and what businesses are growing and which ones aren't. Deeper collaboration. Obviously, cloud allows for much more open systems. A cloud system by definition is out there on the internet. You can share either through team spaces, email, moving collaborative systems out to the cloud has made a big difference for a number of these companies that we call pace setters. So those are three key areas on how they're differentiating. When we say they're differentiating their business, those were three categories we saw. But what's different about their cloud approach? So we then wanted to peel the onion one layer lower and say, so what's really different about what they're doing? We found four key areas where the pace setters had something that was differentiated specifically from the chasers, but in a few areas the challengers as well. Number one is they had an enterprise-wide cloud strategy. So they weren't just opportunistically buying or leveraging cloud technologies when a need came up, not in that reactive sense. They were proactively planning on how cloud was going to help them in a multi-step process. This is quite a different difference between the people that were categorized as chasers and those that were categorized as pace setters. Number two, prioritizing open source cloud platforms. I think a lot of the pace setters are now seeing something that IBM's been saying for a while, which is, for the cloud to be really successful and have innovation happen in the cloud, we need to make it as open as possible. That's what made the internet explode. It was all based on open systems, open source, and open standards. Cloud's going to be the same way. So if you embrace a strategy, leveraging cloud gives you the ability to choose between different implementations of the same infrastructure, have that vendor independence while at the same time benefiting from the innovation that goes into open systems. Number three, a lot more companies are already considering themselves hybrid in nature. In other words, they have done the efficiency inside their data center in what many people call a private cloud, but also leveraging SaaS and infrastructure as a service, potentially in the public cloud setting, and then being able to connect the two. So you get part of a cloud value proposition is flexibility. When people ask me, what's the most different thing you think about cloud? I say, the flexibility it now gives IT decision makers, because you have lots of options you didn't have before. Sort of reminds me of the first presenter talking about Zipcar. I mean, that's what that was all about, was having an option you didn't have before in how to use a vehicle. Cloud's the same way. You now can do things you might not have been able to do before because you didn't have those options. You had finite capacity inside your data center. This concept of elasticity and bursting into the public cloud is something that makes a hybrid cloud concept really critical for most enterprises. And then encouraging cloud experimentation through executive support. We actually saw good results across the board here. And I think that's important because the only way you can learn about a new technology and a new way of delivering IT services is to experiment and fail fast and be able to realize what are the capabilities of a cloud delivered environment versus not, and then being able to focus on those areas. A sort of a side point that I found extremely interesting was we asked our survey company then to pull the public financial records of everybody that they had surveyed, all the companies they had surveyed, and then graph for us the people that they classified as pace setters versus challengers versus chasers. Now there's a correlation here, and we're not saying it's cause and effect, but there's a definite correlation between the financial success of companies that are leveraging cloud computing and are setting the pace for this new era of capability and technology and business innovation versus those that are challengers or chasers. And it's pretty significant. And this was an interesting insight that going into the study we didn't necessarily know we were going to find, but when the data was pulled it was pretty clear that there was that these types of companies that are really embracing cloud are also doing better financially in the businesses that they compete. A lot of talk these days about the convergence of new technologies. I mentioned it on the first slide. I call these technologies SMAC, social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. The convergence of how to leverage one or the other in the context of overall strategy is something that we have been looking at and helping our clients with. So we asked in the survey we asked, how are you leveraging mobile, social, analytics, and cloud? And another trend of the survey was clear that the pace setters see this new technology horizon of this emergent application paradigm of integrated analytics and social delivered to mobile phones out of a cloud delivered model as very important, and are investing accordingly across that spectrum. So the SMAC application paradigm and the integration and what it means to enterprise apps of the future is pretty clear, set by these, as we can see from these pace setters. Okay, so then the final piece of information I want to share with you on the survey was we said, okay, we asked them now, so if you're the pace setters, where are you going tomorrow? Give us some insights as to what you think is going to be important in the next turn of the crank in your cloud strategy. Where do you see some competitive advantage? And there was 3 areas that the pace setters identified. Number 1 is product and service building blocks. And we all know this is important because of the fact that you have this concept of platform as a service emerging, and the platform should be able to deliver to you much more finite granules of functional capability from the cloud that you can then compose into solutions, services, and business processes. I mean, that's generally the way the trend is going, and these pace setters are seeing that. So they're starting to invest, moving up the stack from, leveraging infrastructure as a service to leveraging platform and platform services and APIs. Even bigger big data. So, what's happening today in terms of analytics and analysis of big data sets, they're starting to see value, and so they know that there's even more work to be done there. And then finally, industry-specific platforms. And this is where I think cloud's going to get very exciting, because the cloud delivery model allows more innovation and more specific and granular types of solutions that can be targeted to various industries. IBM invests in solutions across our sort of smarter planet spectrum, so smarter solutions for cities and governments, as well as for manufacturing and healthcare and telecommunications. So these industry-specific solutions built on a cloud-delivered platform, you're going to see much more uptake in the upcoming years. So that's, you'll see the study published later in the week. That's the highlights of it. IBM approach in cloud has been understanding this breadth and need of needs across IT. That's why our portfolio is based on what we call Think It, Build It, Tap Into It. Think It is we help people with their cloud strategies. Build It, we provide the software and hardware to help you reinvent the way that you build your clouds. And then Tap Into It, and probably the one that people most associate with cloud computing. Tap Into It is all about adding and delivering a layered set of functionality across the spectrum. Because we have seen both in this survey and in clients we've been working with for the last 5-6 years in cloud, over 5,000 engagements, that you can gain value at every layer of the stack. Getting infrastructure as a service delivered to you as an augment of your own data centers. Leveraging a platform like we talked about, getting that middleware out of the cloud, being able to get software. IBM has over 100 SaaS applications. Most people don't realize that, where you can get software delivered as a service. And even your business process, where you can get an entire business process delivered to you out of the cloud. So I'm about a minute over, so I'm going to wrap it up there. The takeaway is the fact that you should start, look at your cloud strategy, and when you're working on your cloud strategy, look at both what are your business objectives, where's your company going, and what's important to your company, and then look at the set of cloud technologies available to you. Where can open systems help? Where can public cloud services? What can you do with a hybrid cloud that maybe you couldn't do before? So work on your cloud strategy, but when you do so, one of the things we're learning from the pace setters is the fact that they're looking at their cloud strategy from both a business lens and where their company needs to go, and through an IT lens. And I encourage you to do the same. So thank you very much. Thank you. And I leave you here with some URLs you can check out if you want more about the study or Smart Cloud or what have you. So thank you very much.